From knowledge to action, fostering student advocacy. This video is made possible by the California Department of Education as part of the Content, Literacy, Inquiry, and Citizenship Project, which provides professional learning and resources to help educators and school administrators successfully implement California's History Social Science Framework. This video was developed in partnership with the Sacramento County Office of Education and MICVA Challenge.
Welcome to this brief overview of how to turn civic knowledge into action by fostering student advocacy outside of the classroom. I'm Frank Peasy from the Sacramento County Office of Education, and it's my pleasure to share some ideas that will help you choose the best way to help your students be more civically aware and engaged. In California's History Social Science Framework, civics education is addressed at every grade level. Civic competencies build upon each other, so when they're taught in a comprehensive and intentional way, students graduate from high school more prepared to be informed, thoughtful, and active civic participants. So what do we mean by the term student advocacy? Preparing students for informed, skilled, and engaged participation in civic life is a key goal of social studies education. Our democracy depends on citizens who know how government works, are involved in local decision-making processes, and have a sense of responsibility to their community. By dealing with real-world issues in their communities through asset-based and well-researched approaches, students can learn to advocate for what they believe to be the best course of action for themselves and their community.
Why is a high-quality civic education so important? Because civic knowledge encourages civic action. Through positive participation in actual governmental processes, like advocating at public meetings and hearings, volunteering in an election campaign, or working at the polls, visiting courts and attending trials, and interacting with local, state, and federal policymakers, students can better understand the connections between the past and the present, and between the present and the future. Civic action has transformational effects that last a lifetime. So, when do we teach about civic engagement? The short answer? Always. The concept of being a good citizen is something we should build with our youngest students. Students in pre-K or TK can learn about the importance of being a helpful member of their community. In first grade, students map their local community, like their school or neighborhood. This is when the journey towards civic awareness and action begins, as they identify parts of their community that they want to make better. Here, the students are working together to create a drawing of their school community. Using this, they'll identify areas where they feel safe and where they don't feel safe. This will help the teacher focus their conversation on the changes they can make to help students feel safer in their community. In upper elementary grades, students continue learning about the foundations of our democracy by investigating our core documents and learning about basic civil rights. Learning about their local government representatives, students will start to learn how their community is influenced by policy, both good and bad. In middle and high school, students may be interested in a variety of topics, including bullying prevention, substance abuse, domestic violence, the environment, or public transportation. With a solid foundation in civic awareness and advocacy experienced in earlier grades, students will be well positioned to engage in informed civic action. Here, high school students work in a small group to identify topics or concerns that they would like to investigate further. With a solid foundation in civic awareness and advocacy experienced throughout their education, students will be well positioned to engage in informed civic action for the rest of their lives. Research shows that the more students are involved in civic action throughout their education, the more likely they are to be civically active into adulthood. This student is so motivated that he volunteers his time to hold a sign in front of his neighborhood polling place that reads, "Vote." We've established what student advocacy is and why civic action is so important. Now let's discuss how we get students to be civically active outside of the classroom. Students in all grades must first learn the art of listening and learning from peers. Older students can do this by engaging in civil discourse. Teaching student advocacy can begin first with activities like sit and discuss or stand and declare. As shown in this image, the group of high school students practices stating their own opinions, listening openly to their peers' opinions, supporting their ideas with clear reasoning or research, and debating with peers to better understand their viewpoint. As we know, civic action outside of the classroom starts with a comprehensive approach inside the classroom. A comprehensive inquiry approach to prepare students for advocacy projects outside of the classroom could focus on a series of compelling questions that build toward a plan of action. For example, the students shown here were tired of their overcrowded train, so they researched the issue, developed some initial solutions, and then met with city officials in charge of transportation to discuss the issue and advocate for policies that will relieve overcrowding on the train. While this is not a linear process, let's look at some steps that are common to all civic action projects. Step 1. To begin the inquiry process, ask a series of simple but compelling questions like, what is something in your community that you would like to change? This is a question that students at all grade levels can answer. With their problem identified, students engage in a process that leads them towards civic action. Their questions continue. For example, what are the assets of our community that we could use to make it a better place? Step 2. Once students have identified an issue to address, they can research it through a series of questions, such as, how have other communities addressed this issue? Are there experts we can learn from? Do we have data from our community on this issue? If not, should we create our own through surveys or interviews? How should we respond to this issue? Step 3. Once students have identified an issue to address and conducted research around it, they're ready to take informed action. This can be informed through questions like, what is our specific ask? What root cause do we want to change? What organizations or leaders can help us make the change we're seeking? What is the best way to persuade leaders and organizations to support our cause? One simple way to encourage students to think critically about their role within their community, speak out, and advocate for positive change is through Project Soapbox. Project Soapbox is a call-to-action speech where students identify a pressing concern within their community and give a 2-minute solutions-based speech.
My call is to you, all the humans on this earth.
In this video, several students are performing their speeches on stage, employing unique rhetorical strategies, making personal connection to their topic, providing varied data and research, and providing a strong call to action.
If covering up was all a girl had to do, then why is it still 1 in every 6 women that's being affected today? Thank you.
In summary, by linking what they learn in the classroom to real-world issues in their communities, students' individual interests in advocacy can be sparked, making the classroom content more meaningful and memorable. We hope this video has provided a helpful overview of fostering student advocacy outside of the classroom. To find more resources, please visit the Content, Literacy, Inquiry, and Citizenship Project website at www.californiahss.org.
If you work in a California school, MICVA Challenge is providing free access to their Project Soapbox curricula. To access this curricula, please reach out to your local CLIC lead, whose contact information can be found at www.californiahss.org/clicleads.html. Thanks to MICVA Challenge, whose website can be found at micvachallenge.org for their expertise in identifying content for this presentation and for making Project Soapbox available to all California schools. Technical production of this video was performed by the Sacramento County Office of Education's Internet and Media Services Department.